everybody, happy Tuesday. So today we're going to be moving on to our next text type. So we've obviously done our letters now, so we're going to be moving on. Obviously, if you're not at the point where you've finished your letters, please do that first and then you can go on to the next text type we're going to be looking at. So today we're going to be moving on to a play script. So we're going to be looking at a Waggle, what a good one looks like, and really understand what a play script is. So I'd like you to have a think of these questions here. What is a play script? Have you ever heard of a play script before? What's a play, and have you heard of a play? So I'd like you to have a think of these questions, have a think to yourself, have a talk to your parents or talk to your whoever's around you. Think about, have you heard of a play script, and what do you think a play script is, and why do you think we have play scripts? I'd like you to pause the video now, have a think of that, and then come back to me once you've had a discussion. Okay, so what is a play script? So a play script, or a drama script it can sometimes be called, is like a story that has been written for actors to perform. So actors learn their lines, they then perform their lines in the story. So within the term play, relating to a theatrical performance. So if you go to the theatre, you might have gone to Wakefield Theatre, you might have gone to the Alhambra, if you've gone to any of the theatres in London, you go and watch a play, and it's where actors who learn the lines and they perform it to an audience, and this is what we need. So they need a play script in order to know what lines theirs are. Now the person that writes the play is called the playwright, and the actors are given their lines. They have to learn their lines so that they know when they will speak their lines for the story to make sense. So I want you to have a think of, have you been to a theatre? And if you have, what have you been to see? It could be something like Peter Pan, it could be something like Rapunzel, Lion King. There's lots of different ones that you might have seen. So I want you to have a think of, have you been to see it? What have you been to see? And can you think of the characters and maybe what they might have said or how they might have said it to start with, and then we'll actually look at the Waggle. So this is the Waggle, so what a good one looks like. So this is a Waggle of the story of Cinderella as a play. So you can see that it's set up slightly differently to what we normally would see. Can you just have a little look and a little think or a discussion? Why does this text look different to, say, a story or a letter? What can you see that makes you know this is a play? Okay, so let's have a look. So we can see that at the start there is a box and it's got all the characters in. Now we obviously wouldn't normally have that in a story or a letter, so that's one area, one feature that makes us know it is a play. So then we've got, you might have seen that there are scenes. So a scene is a different, where there's a change. So you'd say if you could describe the scene, you might be telling me where something is. So for example, the first scene is at Cinderella's home. Now, when the second scene happens, that would generally mean when there's a change in what if you were performing it, how the stage would change. So it might change from being at the home to being at the ball. So scene 2 might be at the ball. So you might move all the objects that were in to show it was a home to then showing that it would be a ball. So it's the next big event. So each main event where there would need a change of scenery, a change of a place where it was being set, this would be the next scene. So we've got scenes. We've then got somebody called a narrator. Now we're going to come back to this person because you might have already heard of or know what a narrator is, but we're going to come a little bit back to him and this person in a little while. We've then got the characters' names down the left hand side. So we've got the stepsisters, we've got Cinderella, we've got Fairy Godmother. So we've got those down the left hand side, and they're followed by a column. Then we have got what the characters are saying. So for example, if you look in the scene 1, under the narrator it says stepsister 1. We know that the stepsister will say, "Did you clean the kitchen?" Where Cinderella would reply, "Yes, I did." So this will be the order of the events of what people are saying as well. So we're now going to have a look at the features to see if you can then pull out these features off our checklist. Let's have a look now at our checklist. So I've just obviously told you about the layout and how it sets out. We've talked about the character list or the cast list, which is at the start in the box. We've talked about at the bottom where we said it about having a narrator, using a colon after the character's name, having scenes. We've talked about how there's different characters as well. So let's have a look at the other ones. So because we know from having the name of the character on the left hand side, we don't need speech marks because we know that this is what they're going to be saying. Now obviously in the story we will actually need to use speech marks, but because it is a play we already know that everything that's written down is going to be that's said. Then we have something that's called stage directions. Now we're going to come back to these, but these are in brackets and these tell the reader, tell the actor who's doing their performance, who's speaking the lines, what they should be doing at this time of saying their lines. And then we need to make sure that there's a new line for each speaker. So I've given you an idea there of the features that you need to find. So what I'd now like you to do, I've put these on Seesaw for you to be able to use. I'd like you to now go and find the features and colour coordinate them up, just like we've done with the previous ones, to see if you can find it. Now, if, for example, follows the layout of a play script, obviously you can't really colour anything towards that, so you might just want to give it a tick or a cross if you don't think it does, to say whether it has done it or it hasn't. Okay, so let's have a look to see if you've got the same as me. So I'm going to do this, so if you want to, obviously if you've not got anything you can fill it in also. I'm not going to go through every single one on the actual text, I'm just going to do a few examples. So, does it follow a layout of a play script? Well, we can say yes it does, because when we actually look at how it is set out, it's very different from a story, it's very different from a letter. It is set out exactly how a play script should be set out. Then is the cast list at the start. So if I have a look, I can see that my cast list or my characters that I know that are going to be in the play are indeed at the start, and they are actually in a box as well. So I can see that that is correct. Have I used any speech marks? No, I haven't, so I can give that a tick as well, because remember, when it is a script, because we know it's already what they're saying, we know that we don't need any speech marks or inverted commas, that's what they're called, to do that. Okay, let's have a look then. Are the names on the left? Well, yes, they are. They're all underneath on the left-hand side here. So you can see that all the names are left. We can then see that there are, I'm going to actually leave the next one, I'm going to go on to the next one. Is there a new line for every speaker? Well, yes, there is. We can see that as soon as somebody stops talking, the next person speaks, we can see that is on a new line. I'm then going to have a look, has my play got a narrator? Well, I can see that yes it does, because my narrator is at the very start, and we're going to talk about a narrator on our next lesson tomorrow. Does then we've got, have we got a colon that follows the character's name? Well, yes, we can see a colon looks something like this here, and it looks like two dots, which make it a colon. Are there scenes? Well, yes, we can see that there are scenes, because we have got, so we've got scene 1 there, we've got scene 2, there are actually plenty of scenes as well. And finally, if we go back up to the stage directions, so stage directions tell us what somebody is doing. Can you find these in here? Well, yes, there is. So for example, here it says Cinderella is calling out. So when she says her words, stepsisters, a letter from the royal palace has arrived for you, she then is going to call it out. She's not going to whisper it, she's going to call out, stepsisters, a letter from the palace has arrived for you. So it tells her how she's going to say it. Similarly, underneath it says fighting. So because the stepsisters want to get to it first, they're fighting against each other to try and get it first. So they're pushing past each other. So now I'd like you to have a think about why we need these. Why do we need these features in a play script? So it could be the fact that, well, you need the list of the characters at the start so you know who is going to be involved in the whole play. So that's why it's important. So whoever is reading the play script, they know that they need a certain number of characters to fill a certain number of actors to fill the characters' positions. We know we need the speaker's name on the left and a new line for each speaker, so it makes it clear so that each person, if you are, say for example, if you're the actor playing Cinderella, you know where you are, what you are going to say, and so that you can then make sure you say your line at the correct time. Stage directions, we could say, are important because they tell the actor how to act. So instead of just standing there and not giving much away with how they will be feeling or what they will be doing, it would make sure that they would show that so that the audience will enjoy the play a little bit more. If you can as well have a go at doing some of the other sentences, I've given you some examples there. See if you can figure out why it's so important that we have all these features in a play script. And write me some sentences, and then I'd love to see your work on Seesaw, so please do put that on Seesaw.